Well, good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Turk's Tips and Tricks. Today, we're going to be looking at NX drafting. Now, if you have attended any of my webinars, you know that I've done one on drafting before, but this one's going to be a little bit different. It's going to have a different spin. The previous webinar I did on drafting was all about view-dependent edits and things like that. This one, we're going to actually look at some of the changes in NX 2007, as well as some nice little tips and tricks. For the agenda, we're going to start by talking about the company I work for, very briefly, who we are, more importantly, how can we help? Then we're going to jump into our section, Turk's Tips and Tricks, NX Drafting. You can see some of the bullet points of the items we're going to talk about. Notes, that's changed. Leaders, you can have them go from one side or from the other side, or the sketch within a view. Now that's an interesting one because some of our customers, they'll call and they'll have questions. How do I get the sketch to work within the view? Or do I have to do the old school expand? We're going to also look at a change that has been made to PMI. So if you're using the newest version of NX, you might think, where's my PMI? Well, we're going to show you. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in, and I'll do my best to answer them during the webinar. However, if I'm unable to answer it, then I'll just get with you afterwards. My name is Dan Turk, and I'm an application engineer with Geometric Solutions. The company that I work for, Geometric Solutions, we sell the best in-class software. We sell Siemens software solutions, but we're part of the larger Waltonen family of companies. Now here's why that's relevant. At Waltonen Engineering, we have hundreds of designers and engineers. They're using this software. At Independence Tooling Solutions, we've got an entire facility where the things that we're designing, well, they're being created. So you could say from top to bottom, left to right, and every which way around, we've got you covered. The owner of our company, he put it nicely. He said, our ability to successfully partner with our customers comes from our experience in using the tools we sell every day. So it's not just that we sell these tools, no, we're using them. Even for myself, it's not just webinars, but I actually use these tools and enjoy using them. So with that, we're going to get into our subject, Turk's Tips and Tricks, NX Drafting. Okay, so here I have my drafting screen set up. You can see I've got my views and I've got a couple things just laid out. The first thing we want to look at is notes. You might think, okay, a note is a note. That should be easy enough. Well, you know how sometimes you'll type in your notes and you need to put in maybe a plus or minus symbol, or some folks, they like to put in their GD and T, they like to put them in through the annotation editor, right here through these notes. Or maybe it was a part attribute. Now, as I'm looking through my note, I don't see any of that. So the first thought is, oh, just go up, check, nope, more's there. So what's going on? Well, let me show you. I'm going to go back to a different version of NX and go into drafting. Now, when I turn on the note here, well, this might be what you're used to seeing, where we had all of the alignment, we had the style, the ID, we had it where we could add in our GD and T, drafting symbols, fractions, relationships, all these little guys that we could put in here. You know, it's interesting that when you would go through this, you'd really, as you can see, you'd really have to scroll through to try and find what you're looking for. Now, what we've got here on the screen, I'm not going to read that because that would take the entirety of the webinar, but that is one way that some folks would create feature control frames. But they would actually do it through the annotation editor. I mean, do you see all that? Okay, what if I wanted to make the smallest change? How would I do it? Well, let's go to the latest version of NX. So we're in our note, and you'll notice as soon as you turn on a note, the tab changes. And so now all of those little bits that we had in this palette, they're now at the top of the screen. So do you want it to be bold, underlined, all those little font things. If you're a font fanatic, you can make your changes. The best part of it though is symbols. There it is. I can go in here, I can add my plus minus or any other ones. I can click more symbols. Let me move that to the center. And so we can add any type of symbol that we want, including system fonts. So that's something that you'd be used to. If there's part attributes, well, right here. I'm just going to do a quick click. So any attributes you want to define, just like you did in previous versions, you've got the same functionality. It's just that it's laid out really nicely. I don't have to scroll around this tool palette hoping to find what I'm looking for. No, it's all right there, and it's set up really nice for me. Now, some folks, they like to use the annotation editor for their GD&T. Now, my personal preference is I like to use, let me just escape out of this. I just like to use the regular feature control frame. But there are some reasons why you might want to use this feature control frame within a note. So how do I do that? Well, it couldn't be easier. Once I turn on the note, you can see feature control frame, and I get that standard feature control frame pop-up. So I've already got it set position, diameter, and I've got it set to A, B, and C. Okay, and now you'll notice on the right, you can see the feature control frame. But do you notice the text here, how it's kind of gray? See, I can go in here, right click, edit, and I'm right back to it. So that if there was a change that needed to be made, it's not a matter of scrolling through and trying to figure out what you need. No, you've got this right here. And then of course, you can type in any additional notes. So that function, the notes, it's all right here for you. Okay, also just to point out, because I think it's cool, let me get rid of that feature control frame. They've also got this vertical text. So do you see that, how that changes? I know it's a simple thing, but how many times have we just, I don't want to rotate the text. I just want it vertical. Where's that button? Well, now we know. Okay, let's make a feature control frame. And we're just going to make a standard one. I've got profile of a surface at 0.05. And please keep in mind that the GD&T that I'm putting down is not good GD&T, but it's just to show you how the leader styles work. So I'm going to just go ahead and put that feature control frame, touch the leader right off there. But it might be that I want an additional leader. So maybe I want it on this surface. So now I've got my leader right here. But it kind of can be a little wonky looking. I've got to get everything lined up. You see it's crossing there. Well, that's where you have this nice ability. If I just click, left click on the leader 2, I can go over here to that arrow, the stub length, right click and reverse direction. And then you'll notice what it does. It's actually giving me a leader off of both sides of that feature control frame. So you can use this type of functionality for other things too, but I think it just demonstrates it really well with the feature control frame. Now I did that quick, so I'm going to do an undo, and I'm going to do it again. So I'm just putting that leader in there as normal. I want to choose another one. So I'll just touch off of another spot. And it's at this point I'm choosing leader 2, right clicking on the stub, reverse. And then I just middle click OK. And there we have it. So pretty neat thing that they have added. All right, the next thing that we want to do is we want to talk about sketching within our drawing. Now, if you've been using NX for a while, maybe since the old UG days, if you wanted to sketch, or excuse me, if you wanted to draw lines in a view, remember, you right click, expand, and we'd go into that view and work that way. Well, you still can do that, but now we have the ability to sketch. Now, the reason I want to bring this out is some of our customers, they'll come to us and they'll say they tried sketching, it just doesn't work. So here's what will happen. Let's just say in this area, I want to just draw a line so I can show an area where I don't want there to be any coding, or maybe I do want coding. You get the idea. So what happens is they'll come in and I'll just go ahead, put my line in, and let me just get that close. There we go. Finish. Hey, it looks black. Everything looks good. Whoops, until I move the view. So it was looking good. So then what do we do? Well, let's just move this back into place. Do not move this view. Well, no, we don't want to do that. There's a trick to sketching within the view. I'm going to delete this guy. The way that we sketch within a view is you have to select the view, give it a right click, and we got this little guy, Active Sketch View. So I just did that, right click, Active Sketch View, and notice once I click on a line, this sketch view boundary, it's going to change. So you see how it's now blue and it's dashed? These guys, they're not. Now, just to show that it is drawing in this view, remember this view, it's automatic, the bounds of it. So if I draw a line outside of it, the view should update, right? So we get that. Do a quick undo. Let me put another line in here. And in this case, I'm just going to strike that down. Maybe we'll just extend it. And finish. Okay, now the test. Hey, it moves right with it. So you could see it's not that it's difficult to do, it's actually pretty easy. It's just that we are frequently missing the step of right clicking and then active sketch view. What if I want this one to be my active sketch view? Again, right click, active sketch view. Now the interesting part about this though is if you want the drawing, so that's the sheet itself, you want that to be the sketch view, we just have to activate it as well. By default, that's the view that we have, or that's where the sketch is going to go. Now here's just an example. I'm going to draw a line again, and just keep your eye on the border. So you can see hopefully you can see it's blue. It's just helping us to see where the sketch is actually going to go. So some of our customers, they have it where they're drawing some reference sketches on the actual sheet, but then they're going into the view, and the problem is they couldn't do this. So right click, active sketch view. Let's go ahead and make one more active sketch view. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a spline in. Now notice it changed to that blue. Whoops. Making more of a figure 8 there. There we go. And the reason I did this is I want to make a broken out section. So a lot of times the broken out section views, we struggle with them because we're trying to expand into the view, draw some curves in there, and it just doesn't work for us. So in this case, I just threw a quick sketch in. It's a quick sketch, quick spline. So I'll do the breakout section. I need to pick the view. Then I'm picking a spot, how far do I want to cut through? What's the direction? You can see that arrow. And then I just choose the spline, and voila, it gives me that broken out or breakout section. It's kind of hard to say. Now, in this case, it doesn't really show anything of value, but did you see how easy that was? That's because I was using the sketch. Now, a good practice would be when you're done, just to make the sheet the active sketch again. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use some of our model geometry, and we're going to bring that into the drawing. So I'm going to go back to the model real quick, and you can see I've got a sketch and I have some holes. Well, for the sketch, I took the time to actually dimension these, even line them up. Wouldn't it be a shame if I had to, on the drawing, put these dimensions on again? So if you know me, you know I am much too lazy for that. I'll go back into drafting, and there's a nice tool that we have. It's called Feature Parameters. I added it to my taskbar, but if you don't have it on yours, likely you won't, just type in Feature in the command finder, and then roll down to Feature Parameters. It's pretty cool. I'm choosing what features do I want. So in this case, I'm just going to choose the sketch. Then I choose what view, and OK. So there are those dimensions. The nice thing about these dimensions is I can go in and adjust them however I want. What about the holes? Well, this is something I like to point out, is that we have the ability to actually get information from the hole. And it's not the one I just picked. It's this guy, hole and thread callout. And notice, as I'm holding my mouse over, it's picking up that 8.25 hole. And so then I can just place it. The nice thing about this is you can go in to the settings, hole, thread, and callout, and you can add whatever information that you want. Now this is just a blind hole, so there's not a lot to it, but if it was a thread, then you could add a lot more. All right, let's do let's do something else. Let's just say that we're starting to think about using PMI. We've had some customers that they see the benefit of PMI, but they're hesitant to go away from their drawings. So it's almost like they want to have a drawing and they want to have the PMI. That you could think of that as the 3D GD&T. They want to have that on the model as well. So we're too lazy, or I'm too lazy to do it twice. So what can we do? I'm going to go over to my drafting tools, and we've got this button, Convert to PMI. So I'm going to just choose this view, and OK. And then I'm going to go to Modeling. And nothing, right? Did I mess up? Well, if I click on the model views, you can see that there's a new view that has been created. It's called Ortho 10. And when I double click on that, you can see that's where that feature control frame goes. Now in highlighting it, this just shows you how smart NX is. I just touched off of these surfaces, but now you'll see that the PMI, it's actually attaching to the entire surface, not just the edge or the line that I selected on. Now, when we think about our PMI, though, you might be looking at my part navigator and thinking it looks a little funny compared to what you're used to. And if you think that, you're right. I'm going to go to an older version of NX. Got this very complicated part, and I've got some PMI. Now, what we did in previous versions of NX is if I clicked on model views, it shows me all the model views. And notice I'm in the part navigator. Trimetric, hey, there's that feature control frame. When I'm in the newer version of NX, I don't see that. And that's because PMI is really taking off. So many companies are starting to use it that they've actually created a number of PMI tools. One of them is this MBD for model-based definition, MBD Navigator. So in here, I can see where is the PMI. And so with this little button, that's what it's telling me is where that PMI is located. Let me just add one piece of PMI to this. I'm just going to add a quick dimension. And we'll just place that down there and close. So as I mentioned, some companies, they're kind of doing a hybrid approach where they see the benefit of the PMI, but they're just a little hesitant of pulling the trigger. Well, here's another way you can do both. So remember, this feature control frame, we got it from the drawing. How about we do the opposite? We get this dimension from the model and put it on the drawing. Let me go back into drafting. And I'm going to put it on this view. That makes sense, right? Go into the settings, PMI, and I'm going to say inherit. And I don't want to inherit this feature control frame. I already have it, right? But just the dimension. And there it is. You'll notice that it's actually making the view grow. And that's because this is the PMI. If you look at the very bottom of my screen, right at 6 o'clock, right down here, you can see PMI linear dimension inherited. So this is a nice thing to do if you're looking for, or you're trying to get into PMI, but you're not exactly sure. Also, we've spoken a bit about PMI. Would you like to learn more about that? Well, good news, we've done a couple webinars on it. So you can go to our YouTube channel or our website, and you can actually get to see a little bit more about PMI, product and manufacturing information. Or you could reach out to me and we could chat about it as well. Let me pull up my spreadsheet, or not my spreadsheet, my PowerPoint here. Well, this is going to conclude this month's edition of Turk's Tips and Tricks. Want to remind everyone, mark your calendars for the fourth Tuesday of each month. Yes, I know that today is Thursday, but I was on vacation on Tuesday. So typically it's the fourth Tuesday of each month. Is there something that you would like to see? Do you have a suggestion for a webinar? Well, send me an email, dan.turk@goplm.com. If we use it, I'll send you a pair of these very stylish nerd glasses. Are you interested in any NX training? Well, we're not just doing webinars, but we also do custom training, and it's the same email address. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for your time and for your attention. If you have any questions, well, you've got my email address, or you can email us at solutions@goplm.net. We've also got that QR code that you can scan to learn more about Geo and our upcoming events. Again, I'd like to thank everybody, and as always, have a great day and be safe.